there's, I think, a lot of fear in me that we're going to do something wrong or that I'm going to get something wrong and that that's going to bring the spotlight or the microscope onto me, and that there's going to be this exposure of I'm a fake, I'm a fraud, I don't do what I say I'm going to do, I fill in the blank. Hi, my name is Catherine Hubert. This is my business, Chez, Genèse, where I am the restaurant owner, chef, and disability integration coach. More on all of that later. Hey everybody, welcome back. I am sitting outside, which actually is a lovely change of pace from being inside all day. But I forgot my headphones this week, and that helps a lot with the audio. The restaurant has so much background noise from all the refrigerators and coolers and ice machine and things like that. And so you'll probably hear a little bit of noise, me being outside, but hopefully that'll be less than you would if I was in the restaurant space. So welcome. I'm really happy that you're here. We are talking today about cancel culture. What are my feelings? Why are we talking about it? And do I believe that it's a productive way of handling conflict in our culture? And what alternatives would I like to propose? Where is this coming from? It's coming from comments and feedback that I've received in some of our other videos in the past, namely ones where I have done reactions or talked about a couple of different comedians and the jokes that they have made around disability, received varying levels of support and backlash for those videos. We did one on Matt Rife and some of the comments that he made, and then one on Gillis in his opening monologue with SNL. That one garnered a lot of attention and feedback, mostly negative, and a lot of the comments that were received are along the lines of, I'm being too sensitive, I don't have a sense of humor, I can't take a joke, why am I watching if it just bothers me anyways? And then all of that kind of being tied into this theme of pushback against cancel culture and accusing me of that. And so I wanted to talk about it because that actually is not my intent. I am not a big proponent or supporter of cancel culture and what that looks like in our world. To be perfectly honest, have a pretty decent fear of it, because being in a public facing business and being a business that's pushing back against the way, or maybe not pushing back against, but pushing towards a different way of doing business in terms of having an integrated hiring model where 50% of our staff have disabilities and 50% are non-disabled, challenging the way that our culture does and views disability employment, what that looks like, how it operates. And a lot of that are things that we are still learning, that we're figuring out, that we're practicing on a very daily basis, but we're also practicing really publicly. And because of all of those things, there's sensitivity around the topic. There's challenging people to think about their own biases and the way that they're doing things. There's, I think, a lot of fear in me that we're going to do something wrong or that I'm going to get something wrong and that that's going to bring the spotlight or the microscope onto me, and that there's going to be this exposure of I'm a fake, I'm a fraud, I don't do what I say I'm going to do, I fill in the blank. Some of that also stems from the fact that I'm a high achieving person who also has obsessive compulsive disorder, so I can very easily get stuck into, I don't know that the background noise is any less out here than it would be if I sat inside. This is me just sitting here waiting for the noise to be over. Being a high achieving person with obsessive compulsive disorder, I can very easily get stuck in thought loops, especially around fears and insecurities that are not necessarily always rational, but feel very real. And that can kind of perpetuate this fear of like, I'm going to get canceled. It's going to happen. Someone's going to find something that I did that wasn't okay, and not that that's where the irrational part comes into play. I very much try to be a person and a business owner who lives by my own values and has integrity, but those fears are still there. So all of that being said, because those fears are so present and felt with me, I actually do hold that in mind when I'm providing feedback and offering opinions or reactions to things that are happening in a public sphere. My intent and motive is never to cancel someone or to dismiss them from society or culture or their industry or role, but rather to bring curiosity and questions and observations and to open up dialogue around something. In my mind, if someone is putting content out into the public, then there already is an opening of sorts to then have dialogue around what was put out. In that, I still am an advocate for kindness and respect. I'm an advocate in that for myself if I'm offering feedback, and I'm also an advocate for that in people who are putting the content out in the first place. It's my responsibility to own and to hold and to deal with my own feelings and my own reactions, and it's also the responsibility of people who are making public content to be accountable to the content that they're creating. Is the information correct? Is it accurate? Is it respectful? Are we putting down other people in the process? That is where, especially in terms of disability related content and when it comes to making jokes about disability, I feel like there's some parameters that could or should be in place. There's still a lot of really negative perceptions, bias, narrative, stigma around disability in our world. And those are the things that I'm hoping and trying to change through my own personal examination and that what it looks like to break down my own bias, and then how I lead my business and how we conduct ourselves in our community. It's really hard to feel like we're a small business who's trying to change the way that our world does something, but has still a relatively small audience. And then you have someone like Matt Rife or Shane Gillis who has a really large audience, and the jokes that they're making actively push against that work that we're trying to do. It feels like a really missed opportunity for someone who has a large public platform to perpetuate a harmful bias or narrative, and that's what I want to open up conversation about. Because a lot of times we can easily dismiss something like, oh, it was just a joke, or it was meant to be funny, or don't take it too seriously. But the way that we say things and the words that we use and the tone that we're using really matter, and it does consciously sometimes, but mostly subconsciously, affect and impact the way that people think about something, and it can also affect and impact the way that someone feels about something. And that's where I think take cancel culture off the table and bring accountability in. Accountability for the impact that the work that you're doing, that the words that you're saying are having. And I think that the rule for accountability is the same as it is for apologies, which is if a person says, this hurt me, it's not then appropriate to go back and say, well, I didn't mean to hurt you. Of course you didn't mean to hurt me unless you're a psychopath. Like, if you're not a psychopath, and then of course you didn't mean to hurt me. Like, that's not the human intent typically behind actions. Like, yeah, you didn't mean to hurt me, but you did, so I'm bringing it to your awareness. The thing that you said or did, it impacted me. The person can say, well, I didn't mean for it to impact you that way. I get that. You may not have meant it to, but it did, so I'm bringing it to your awareness, and I'm bringing conversation around it. At the end of the day, we get to have our own feelings, we get to have our own thoughts, we get to express those. But I would like for us to be able to express those in ways that are still kind and respectful, and that ultimately bring people together instead of push them apart. And I think anytime you're dealing with a minority group and people who already tend to get pushed to the fringes of life and culture to begin with, it's especially important to pay attention to what we're saying and how we're saying it, so that we're drawing others in instead of continuing to push them out. Especially when humor and jokes, I think for it to be truly funny, both parties need to be laughing. But I also think we can use humor to build people up and to have this shared experience, versus I'm putting someone else down to either make them feel less than or to make me feel superior. And that doesn't just apply to disability, that can obviously apply to other areas, but specifically, that's the one we're talking about today. That's it for today. I do not support cancel culture. I do support accountability. I value compassion and kindness and curiosity and respect and admiration for all people. So that's it for today. If you have questions or thoughts about how you view cancel culture, that might actually be something that would be helpful. I am definitely pro counseling. Have been a solid counseling consumer for a lot of years now. If you have thoughts, questions, please drop them below. Would love to hear from you. Thanks for being here on this slightly different, maybe a little bit more mellow because I'm sitting outside and I'm soaking up some sunshine episode, but would love to see you again soon. Chez, Genèse, friends, teammates, fans, your keyword for this week is Daisy. Welcome to Chez, Genèse, the place of new beginnings. My name is Catherine Hubert, and I founded and own a French-inspired cafe where, as a team, we are on a mission to change the way that our world understands neurodiversity and employs humans with disabilities. Our restaurant was born and is based in Greensboro, North Carolina, and that's where we practice and teach our mission and model. This is our channel where we dive in deep to who we are, what we do, and why we do it. Our hope is that this content is empowering to disabled and non-disabled humans alike, and that no matter what perspective you are coming from, employer, employee, parent, friend, or Chez, Genèse fan, you feel welcomed, you learn something new, and you walk away with a deeper appreciation and understanding of humanity.